section of the show, I'm late. And unfortunately, that section of the show blew through. So my apologies to everybody for being late. There we go. Good morning, everybody. I believe that Mike Cushman's here. So good morning, Mike. So how are you doing, Dave?
Not bad. How about you?
I'm still tired. My entire
Mike,
week.
are we online yet?
Yeah, Mike's. We're online. Yeah, I don't know. My entire portion of the week has been, real bad this week for my illnesses. But I think I'm through the worst of it. People keep telling me to go to the doctors, but I'm not one in favor of going to the doctors when you've just got normal, things.
Yeah. I remember I didn't go to the doctor for 6 weeks, a month and a half, when I had a cold, and then finally realized I'm not going to get rid of this. Yeah. I went to the doctor. He said, "Oh, that's bronchitis, man. You need antibiotics."
Well, but again, I would go to the doctor if it hadn't gone in a week. Yeah. Right? I got the opportunity this weekend to just basically relax and get rid of the whole frigging thing.
Yeah, that's the best course of action. I don't think I'm with you there. It is like for common flu and cold and stuff like that. Yeah. Unless it gets really bad, just kind of tough it out.
You don't need the doctor with it.
Yeah, you don't have to bug the doctor about it. No.
Yeah. I got some people at work who's like, "You haven't been to the doctor?" Yep. Like, yes, Brianne, I haven't been to the doctor. So,
I don't know if I don't have to. Maybe I don't. I mean, that's been a bane in my existence. There's lots of times I should have gone when I didn't, but most of the time I'm like you. I just tough it out.
Yeah. All right. So, a man on okay, where are we? Man who claimed basically a cache of weapons taken by Niagara police during a traffic stop was actually props for a music industry. I kind of go, okay. And then I'm going, well, why did you have real weapons anyway? Because one of the sort of things that the police are going to first of all try is whether they are real weapons. And if you're in a music industry video, you're not going to be using real weapons.
Yeah.
The part of me says, excuse. Guilty as heck.
Yeah, well, this article must go back sometime then, eh?
It happened on Monday. It happened on Monday.
Yeah, I do remember reading it a few days ago. Yeah, so seriously, the guy, you can't even give him credit for imagination, because he's got real guns, and along with it, he's got drugs too. I think they found.
Well, actually, the
drugs, baton, bear spray, a stun gun. Oh yeah, flare gun, and a machete.
I do get how some of those. Well, I do get how kind of the drugs, etc., are utilized within the music industry, but they're still illegal, right?
Yeah, he was already under a firearms prohibition under the time of his traffic stop. Is he associated in any way with a theater group? That doesn't come up here. You know, that would be the first thing. Well, I belong to this theater group, blah blah blah, and these are
no. But you see, if he was genuinely in the music industry, he'd be saying, "We're doing a music video starring X, whoever the star is," right? And even if you and I didn't know that individual, it would be a believable story, wouldn't it?
Well, it would lend some credence to it, but he's got live ammunition.
Yeah, and live ammunition.
Yeah, live ammunition in a magazine. You know, really, seriously. You're going to use that in a play.
Yeah, I got no patience for people who are using that in the music industry. You know.
Yeah, well, I don't know where he's come up with this, and he's saying he's being before the courts as a frequent flyer, but when he is before the courts, it's not for significant types of offensive, which attract lengthy periods of time. He needs to realize that he has to make a choice, either add to his criminal record and get very familiar with penitentiary, or get on with his life, keep his head down and work hard. For some reason, this guy likes to collect weapons. He likes to collect weapons, and he's trying to find excuses
I get
for having all
that.
these weapons, flick knives and stun guns and batons and guns with live ammunition. Oh yeah. That's really his theater at large, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. My kind of this whole thing is I'm calling bullshit on it, right?
Of course, get a flick knife, crying out loud. And if you have a theatrical knife, you have to have, those are special things. You buy them and they'll say you need a flick knife for a theater a play, maybe a play like West Side Story or something like that, where somebody might come up with a flick knife, but it would be a kind of a knife that would be harmless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Guns. Well, we see the tragedy that happened when that I think it was the art director or something was shot on that movie set not long ago. I forget. There's a famous star. What's his name? He's involved in it. He's the guy that actually shot the woman. You know, and there you have it. You know, some fool somehow slipped a live round into one of the stunt guns, and you had an actually real gun.
Yeah.
And with fake ammo, but somebody put a real live round in there and it killed someone. So, yeah, it's very, very unlikely. But I mean, you can't even give him kudos for trying to find an imaginative reason to explain away his guns and other weapons.
Yeah, and you see. I know of in UK. I knew of a person who was a weapons collector. He had World War II memorabilia, right? World War II weapons. He had German guns, Russian guns, British guns, American guns, right? But each of them were display pieces, really, museum pieces, right? Places that he had found them on battlefields. So he got with a group of metal detectorists to go hunt them, and he was proud of those weapons, but they're inoperable.
Yeah, they're inoperable, and look. There's firearms at the armory, the Armory Museum down on Victoria Avenue. I saw them there with Paul and Gary a couple of weeks ago, and they have all kinds of weapons. Even black powder weapons can be dangerous. The old black powder. I knew a guy.
I'm fascinated by those because because they're such a basic bang.
Yeah, and you could see them being used in reenactments and so on, and that kind of thing. But a friend of mine had some black powder weapons, and somebody got all excited about it, and they phoned the police, and they came to this guy's house, and they came to the guy's house and inspected his gun cabinets and his guns and everything else like that, and walked away saying, "There's nothing wrong with this. You're keeping everything exactly what you're supposed to do."
Well,
they were black powder guns, you know.
That was the same with my UK enthusiast. He had live ammo round, guns, which he could use because he was a gun enthusiast. But they were all properly registered. They're all properly crated at his house, so you and I can't walk in and steal them.
Yeah, so that's the main thing. If you have a proper gun cabinet and all those kind of things, and let's face it, the average ordinary hunter or gun collector or marksman they're not really the biggest risks out there. It is the weapons coming from the United States. Scads and scads of handguns, automatic weapons coming in from the United States because they have more guns there than they have people. and they have a lot of them that are listed stolen at any one time. There's anywhere from $250,000 to 650,000 weapons where nobody knows they are.
Yeah,
firearms of one kind or another, and of course those end up drifting across the border.
Yeah, I'm gonna move on to this next criminal story that we got. This one had me laughing from the outset. Right, the guy stole a Hamilton bus from a bus terminal downtown, drove it up the normal route for the bus, where the police arrested him further up the mountain.
Now, this guy must have been a bus driver. I think somewhere in the article it says that he's been refused work at some transit commissions here and there, but obviously he got on the bus when the driver got off at his normal little break where he goes to the washroom, grabs a cup of coffee or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And at the terminal, people normally get on the bus there, right at the terminal, and so he was just one of those. He gets into the bus and he starts driving it, and he starts going on to different calls. He goes and stops, drops people off, picks people up, and goes. It took him about 15 or 20 minutes to get to a point where they could stop him and arrest him, of course. But he didn't do anything bad, and he conducted himself perfectly.
Yeah, he went along the right route, right? This interesting thing is, so he knew where the bus was going. Probably what alerted is the bus driver, the real bus driver, came out of the washroom to see the bus heading off in the wrong direction, and goes, "What the fuck?
Hey, I'm not in there. How come?" So,
actually, as a passenger though, who's been in those situations where the bus driver says, "I'm sorry, I've got to got to take a 3-minute break at this point. We'll be back in 3 minutes." When you're sitting there waiting for that 3 minutes as a passenger, you're going, "Come on." 5 seconds later, it's like, "Come on, it's 3 minutes now. Get on the bus again."
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, the passengers were probably thinking, "Oh, we didn't have to wait as long as we thought." Oh, there he goes. New driver. And yeah, that would be kind of, it reminds me of a story though. I read a story a long time ago about a guy. He was a New York City driver, I think. He was a bus driver for the New York Transit, and one day he just went postal kind of, but in a different kind of way. He decided, that's it. I'm taking off. And he took the bus and he drove it all the way down to somewhere like in South Carolina or something like that. He just took the bus and started driving and taking off. For some reason, he just thought, I got to get out of here. And he took away from his normal route and just hit the highways and started driving to anywhere he felt like going. I think he ended up in a couple of different states down the way before somebody actually caught up to him. He didn't hurt anybody. Nobody got hurt. The bus was taken out of course, the bus was taken out of its normal route that day.
Well, that would be an oddity, because if you've got like a city bus and suddenly it's on the highway, okay, so a city bus going on the highway is not unusual, because you get buses all the time that are going from, like we get one, I see them all the time that are Niagara on the Lake or Niagara Falls to St. Catharines. Bane of my life if they get off in front of me.
Well, yeah. So, but anyway, so this guy took off and nothing much really happened to him. I think he ended up going right back to his bus route. They figured there's some sort of once in a lifetime psychological quirk that tweaked in his head, and then he went back to work and everything was fine. But
yeah,
he just had to do it that one day after years and years of driving the bus. Just take the bus and take off with it.
That's the day he should have stayed home, got the car, and gone away.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But we don't know what happened to this particular guy. Obviously, he knows how to drive a bus, and it was a 2-section bus, basically. It was a long one, And so it's not, I think, I don't know how much harder they are to drive than an ordinary 1-unit bus. They call it an articulating bus, meaning it's got a section in the middle that turns, right? So it's an articulating bus. So that means it has the front section and the back section connected with this flexible sort of zone in between, and so that's got to be a little bit more tricky to drive than the ordinary bus. Yet you handle it quite well.
Yeah, you've got to be a skilled driver to drive one of those. So clearly, this guy A, knew the bus, and B, knew the bus route.
The thing is, what made him do it? He's just thinking. Somewhere in the article, he's being turned down for a job as in the transit commission. So I guess maybe he wanted just to show them and prove to them, yes, I can really drive the bus. See, now can you hire me? I don't think so.
Yeah. But actually, I'm surprised it doesn't happen a lot, because they leave the door open. Right.
Yeah, but there are security things that nobody ordinarily can drive away. There's a security thing there. Which is another mystery there. Like normally the only a bus driver with the stuff required to start the bus or to disengage the bus can do that. There is security there from people stealing it. Somehow this guy got around that.
Yeah, he knew what buttons to press or knobs to turn.
Yeah, or whatever it was, like the average person jumping behind that seat would not be able to engage that bus. Yeah. So that's another reason why he was had some skills.
Yeah, I think they should employ him, but still. Anyway, 16-bed youth shelter in Niagara Falls is going to be put on the market. This is a place in Ontario Street, isn't it?
Yes, I'm very familiar with that place. Yeah. I lived on Ontario
Street. Run by the Boys and Girls Club, and I think it's a savior really for Niagara youth.
Yeah, it was originally meant for Niagara youth, a youth sort of place where they could kind of teach disaffected youth something, so they can go there. They were made to do chores. They were made to learn how to basic life skills, how to begin a bank account, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Maybe elementary ways in which to go back to school, or a safe place for them to go to school from, or even begin to find work. But it didn't surprise me that it's closing down, because there's no money. Where's the money coming from?
Yeah.
The Niagara region pretty much was appreciative of the fact that the Boys and Girls Club took this over from the region, had a place on Victoria Street, and then Boys and Girls Club moved it to this particular location. It looks like a big boarding house, basically. And there used to be another boarding house on Ontario Avenue. I remember it well. It looked like an apartment building, but it was just a big boarding house. It has small rooms in it and so on.
But you know what's going to end up happening, unfortunately, with a place like this? It won't be converted to being an affordable homes unit. It'll be converted to, well, looking at this place, it looks like it's three luxury apartments per floor, right?
It may be
apartments per floor.
I don't know. I don't know what, but they're going to have to sell it, and that's the sad thing here, is there's just not enough funding. There's way too much need, not enough funding. There's no way that a tax base of our size can continue to fund a lot of this stuff. They require charitable donations and things of that kind. The Boys and Girls Club do a very good job, all in all, and as Kiwanis was instrumental in getting the Boys and Girls Club built on McLeod Road, and still we support it to this very day. But the problem is they just don't have enough money to do what they want to do, And as a matter of fact, not only that, but their resources are shrinking. So now they were going to repurpose this for family, for sort of a family rescue area, but that's out of the cards too, because the region has no interest in putting up more coin, and the Boys and Girls Club cannot afford it. It's just one more indication that the need is outstripping the means by which to meet that need more and more all the time.
Okay, Mike asked the question: How can we, the region, cut all funding for this at such a time? I thought they declared the state of emergency. Where is the support?
It's called money, Mike. It's like they have to prioritize what they do have, and they feel that they cannot prioritize this particular building.
Yeah,
I suppose they think the money is spent better elsewhere to enhance their other.
This is not really what you would call traditional Boys and Girls Clubs activities, is it?
Well, they do try to service children in every way, not just athletically. But if you go to the Boys and Girls Club, you'll find a lot of. A couple times actually, I was there because I used to have to go there every week to pick up bingo cards and drop them off and so on. And also,
the education.
We used to have our meetings there.
Yeah, they're involved in a lot of education, Dave.
What?
They're involved in a lot of education. That's why I say it's not their normal thing.
Well, you'll find they're trying to meet the needs of young everywhere, boys and girls. Yeah. And you'll find, like, I've been there where they've had computer lessons for people in wheelchairs, all kinds of kids in wheelchairs that have problems, handicaps or whatever. And they set a whole room up and make sure that they can be educated in the use of computers, which is essential these days, and other things like that. Swimming lessons, of course, that's essential in Canada. All other means, there's, I think, and they have a problem even keeping staff because they can't pay them very well. So to maintain staff there, it's hard because of they can't pay them as much as they would like to, and unfortunately they rely on a lot of donations, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So the Boys and Girls Club, if they're not supported by the region in this particular thing they have going, it's not going to work. As much as they would like to keep it going, they can't.
Yeah,
it'll cost them $30,000 just to upgrade it anyway, and that's a big hunk of dough just to upgrade it in the most meager of ways. $30,000.
Yeah. Okay. 60 years later, they suddenly find now they've got the identity of a missing Calgary woman as a Nevada homicide victim.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting story. 30 years on. Excuse me. Yeah, 30 years on, they finally found a missing Calgary woman that was last seen by her family and friends jumping on a bus heading towards Vegas. She got to Vegas and she's got mixed up with a gangster apparently, and he had her murdered. That was long suspected what happened to her, but they never found her body or anything else. Now they at one time there they did find a few articles of hers, which led them to believe that they were on the right road of determining what happened to her. They had no solid evidence. The gangster that had her killed has died in prisons years ago.
Yeah,
and they have found her bones now, and that happened to be a very long story because her DNA wasn't in the DNA of missing persons. So when they do find somebody, nowadays they can check the DNA in
They've gone through a process today, right?
yeah. So if you have a missing friend or relative or so relative, then they can get your DNA, put it in the bank of DNA of missing persons, and they can make, of course, a computer can make a match really quickly.
Yeah.
The,
it's just throwing up a search criteria.
yeah. Now they took the DNA from her 97-year-old sister, who still survives, put it in the system, and then came up with a match.
Yeah. Wow.
And yeah, go ahead.
Wow, that's amazing, because if they had done the DNA 10, 20 years ago, they may have found a match 10, 20 years ago.
Anna Sylvia Just was first reported missing in 1966.
Yeah.
So that's how long ago it was. She was, all evidence shows that she was violently murdered and tossed. They got a little bit of a clue some years ago when they found a purse and a bloodied rag that belonged to her, but they didn't find her bones. Now they found her bones. And her sister has found closure. All these years, she's known her sister is dead. She didn't know where her body is. Now they know where she is. She's under tombstone Jane Doe number 2 in a graveyard somewhere in Nevada, and it has Jane Doe number 2. But now they could change that headstone and put her real name on there, which gives closure to the old 97-year-old girl for years and years and years, wondering where her sister ended up.
Yeah, gives some form of closure.
Yeah. Now her sister most likely knew that she had been murdered because of the company that her sister had kept.
Yeah. Probably a long time ago she concluded that, and the police probably had this evidence, the purse, etc., and they had probably kept her sister apprised of that.
Yeah, so there you have, like, things have changed so much. As a matter of fact, DNA is a remarkable tool for law enforcement or finding missing people, etc. They have discovered who actually was Jack the Ripper now by using DNA. It's not 100% conclusive, but they had enough stuff left over from the crimes, and one of the suspected people of the murders, they were able to run some DNAs that concluded that he was the most likely person. I mean, it's very, very close. He was a person from Slavic, a refugee kind of guy from the Slavic.
Was he what was the person
mentally imbalanced?
Was he the person known as Leather Apron?
Pardon me?
Was he the person known as Leather Apron? There was a leather worker there who used to wear the leather apron, who was long suspected of this crime.
I'm not so sure, because it's been a while since I've.
That person was of Slavic descent. That's why I asked.
Yeah, it may have been the guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was one of the possible suspects at the time, but of course they didn't have anything. And he was, I guess, mentally imbalanced and ended up in a madhouse and so on and so forth. So it's
all the series of Holmes, etc., H.H. Holmes, etc., bullshit.
Yeah. Well, like it was royalty or something like that.
Yeah.
There was a strong case for, I think the guy's name was Dr. Neil Cream, who happened to be a Canadian guy who loved to poison. Like, he was a brilliant doctor, but he was maliciously minded, and he would poison people and kill people. They hanged him in London, but for other crimes. But there was also quite often suspected that he might have been the nutcase. But anyway, as far as that goes, at least the old girl got some closure. I kind of like that in a sense. It was a tragic event. It was a horrific, violent event for a woman in 1966 to find a Calgary woman to find herself murdered somewhere in the desert, and the guy who did it did not really see justice. We see that Lake Mead, that's close to Lake Mead, which is close to Las Vegas, when it began to when there was a drought and Lake Mead began to shrink and shrink and shrink, what they started finding was body after body after body in Lake Mead, weighted down, and they have to go through a process of finding out who these people were through DNA as well. So these were obviously mob hits, and that's how they got rid of the bodies in Lake Mead.
The suggestion is out in Nevada area, much of the desert out there is full of bodies.
Yeah, basically because it's so remote. You drive out there, you could dump it anywhere. It could be. And you would. In this case, it was like 60 years before they found the bones.
Yeah, and in fact, actually, you wouldn't even have to bury it, right? Because there's parts of that desert that the chance of somebody else going there, and you can drive out there in a good car, chance of somebody else going there is nil, and you could just dump it on the roadside, and unless somebody happened to come along tomorrow following your old route, there's zero chance they're going to find that in 20 years.
Yeah. Well, look, we found bodies there was a body they found in Welland that had been there for about 5 or 6 years. The person had disappeared, and somebody went walking through with their dog and came across the bones. There was being bones in the Niagara Gorge that had been discovered long, being there for very long, probably a jumper stuck in a tree or whatever else, and finally made their way down to the ground. But they've done that too, and that is in the places that are much more well traveled than the Arizona desert.
And usually, if you want to hide a body up
the Nevada desert,
if you wanted to hide a body up here, you'd have to dig them in a grave.
Yeah, or weight them down and put them in the bottom of the Niagara River or something. I don't know.
That's another possibility. Yeah. Anyway, okay, moving on. Trump formally asked Israel president to pardon Netanyahu. What?
Yeah, he's done this before. He went there to talk to Knesset about the peace deal. They of course, he's roundly applauded because he's a big Israel advocate, not so much a Palestinian advocate, but he sees the problem of this continually happening because the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, all those places have lots of money for him and his family. Not only that, but they also have lots of money for investment. And if he can bring peace to that area, it's going to be also a feather in his cap. But he's got to control Netanyahu. And right now he's trying to stick his nose in Israeli business and say, you know what? He talks to the president, which is largely a ceremonial post, but the president of Israel does have the power to grant pardons. But the pardon process cannot be done with a snap of a finger like it can be here in the United States. So the president of the United States can be like a monarch and grant pardons just like that, or clemencies. That can't happen in Israel according to the law. So the president has thanked President Trump for all the wonderful things he's done for them here. Thank you so much for the bombs that we kill Palestinians with. Thank you. But there is a process here. We can't get Netanyahu off the hook for his corruption charges without a process.
Yeah.
Now that process may be accelerated because it's in the interest of Israel to please the petulant one there. But I'm not so sure. I think it's kind of a. But Trump might also want to get Netanyahu. Make sure Netanyahu knows he owes him a favor. He's had trouble with Netanyahu before, when Biden got elected in 2020, he quickly turned his back on Trump and phoned Biden and said, "What a great guy you are." Well, he was very familiar with Biden for many, many years because Biden was the number one recipient of AIPAC, which is the Israeli part of the Israeli lobby. They fed millions of dollars into the campaigns of Joe Biden. So he had no problem switching loyalties quickly.
I find that utterly disgusting that any US president is controlled by Israel funding.
Well, let's say we're not controlled. We just take the funding. And you got a guy like Ted Cruz who said he entered politics with the primary reason of being the number one defender of Israel state. Well, you should be the number one defender of your own state.
Yeah,
the United States.
Yeah, and there's a difference in my mind between and we have our own problems here in Canada. There's a difference between Parliament saying, I believe that we should support this country. I believe that we should support it in this way, etc., because that's something that you debate in Parliament. The trouble with this is that we've got massive amounts of Israeli money being paid to
not Israeli money. It's not Israeli money.
Well,
it's not Israeli money. It's American money. It's American money, and that is the real problem here. Is they take. I mean, there's been a bit of funny business how some money has come from offshore into to be used by the Israeli lobby, but most of it is American money made up, and it's an internal lobby group, which means it avoids the scrutiny of all. It's an internal lobby group devoted entirely to the relationship between the United States and Israel, and they don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent. If you see it their way, they're going to give you money and support, or at least not work against you. Yeah. However, as you see with Thomas Massie in Kentucky, he's a Republican and he doesn't see it Israel's way, so they throw a lot of money against him in all races.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about this is that, of course, you've got a situation whereby it is impacting. It's a lobby that is impacting policy, right? And whether
it is strictly local, it is strictly for Israel's interests.
Yeah, it's still a foreign interest lobby that has a too high an impact upon the US Senate or US House of Representatives, and both, that it's disturbing, it's unethical, it's a breach of both those rules because it's about supporting foreign bodies.
Yeah, as a matter of, it's entirely based on that, and it's a country of 10 million people who have super outsized political influence in the United States. And that's becoming clear. Like a guy like John Mersheimer and his co-writer, I can't remember his name, wrote a book on the Israeli lobby way back in 2007. And it got held down. Like it had no effect at all, almost no effect at all. Guys like Norman Finkelstein, who have been critics of Israel for a very long time, nearly quit being a critic of Israel because the system held that information down. John Mersheimer's book was written in 2007, was clearly showed everything that is becoming exposed now. It's only now that it's picked up because the Republicans and Democrats are looking at AIPAC. You see how terrified, like when AOC was asked about AIPAC, she kind of dodged the question and did a lot of word salad. When unexpectedly confronted with this Gavin Newsom, he got into I haven't really heard much about APAC lately. Instead, all this stuff, APAC's been right in the top of the news for the last few months. It's being one of the biggest news among influencers, Democrat and Republican alike. And yet he says, "Oh, I haven't heard much about that lately," and he refused to answer the question, saying, pleading ignorance. Well, so you see what kind of power they have.
Yeah, people who know me know that one of the things I abhor in all of our political systems is third-party lobbyists who come with a ton of money, right? The original idea of the lobby to Parliament was that, Dave, you've got a problem with your wife and your couple of kids, and the banging noise at the factory next door is keeping them up at night, and the kids are wailing at 3 o'clock in the morning. So you go to Ottawa and you go and see any MP that will see you, preferably your own, right? So if Mr. Baldinelli's available, you go see him, right? That's fine. That's lobbying the real way lobbying's supposed to work. The trouble is when people come with large, and I mean large, large amounts of money, and I'm not talking about I'm not talking about offering members of parliament and senators and the like a few $100s. We're talking about offering them millions of dollars, right? To smooth the path for their cause, right? That is out and out corruption.
Yeah, if we have it bad enough here, but everybody feels that they have to have a lobby if they're going to have any voice in Ottawa. The unions have a lobby. The dentists have a lobby. I found out that the Canadian dentists have a lobby group in Ottawa.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with lobbies, Dave, is that you and I lobby for our particular problems. We go to Ottawa to try and get it resolved, right? Dentists, on the other hand, I'm not saying dentists don't have a cause, right? But taking the issue of dentists, what happens with dentists is that now they're going along. Dentists are having 3 or 4 or 5 bites at the cherry, right? And that's the problem with commercial lobbying.
Well, we found our friend William O'Sullivan walked all the way to Ottawa, and he stood there. If he was part of a lobby, if there was enough money to organize a lobby against pedophilia in the Catholic Church or anywhere else for that matter, and real punishments for that kind of thing and real investigations into that kind of thing, then he would have been much more effective if he could throw some money around. Guess what, buddy? We see that you have similar feelings that we do. We want you to bring them up to the forefront. And the politician says, well, it's not. It's one of the things that it might not get me too far. Here's some money. Here's some money for your campaign. Here's some more money. Now bring this issue up. Unfortunately, it might work that way. And in the United States, we see the super PACs and the Citizens United efforts, and we found that massive amounts of money can go into campaigns that would really weight the campaign one way or the other.
Yeah,
mostly, So it's. But the APAC lobby the APAC lobby and the other Israeli lobbies are very much different because they include a lot of Christian Zionists as well. What they do is they have an APAC person. Each guy has an APAC person, every Republican, Democrat. So almost every Republican and about 75% of all Democrats have an APAC person. And that APAC person tells them what to say and what to do. And they take them for a nice little holiday. Every time they take them to a nice little holiday in Israel, which is not supposed to be connected with APAC or the Israel lobby. We know that when Mamdani was doing his debates against Cuomo and his other opponents, I think they have 4 other opponents, the first thing that every one of those opponents said they would do was go to Israel. Like, why does a New York mayor have to go to Israel? That's the first thing they said. Well, what is your first action as mayor of New York? Oh, I'll go to Israel. Only Mamdani says, I'm going to stay here and work here. I don't have to go to Israel. I don't need to go to Israel. And why do the other ones have to go to Israel? They had to say that if they wanted the money from AIPAC, or at least not have money turned against them from AIPAC.
Yeah. I do see, I do see Mamdani as only having one term, unfortunately.
Oh, there's going to be a massive effort to make sure that he fails. A huge effort. There's going to be all kinds of people united against him in every way possible. They're going to make sure he fails. For one thing, he's brand new at the job, so there's going to be, of course, transitional problem, learning curve. They're going to throw monkey wrench after monkey wrench into everything he does.
Yeah,
and they're going to make sure that he fails. That's my fear. I hope it doesn't happen. Let him just do it. If he's going to fail, let him fail on his own. But that's not the way it's going to happen. They're going to make sure he fails.
If there is a place he goes to, if there are some people he goes to see, right? If there were some mayors that he would go to see, I'd say he probably needs to go and speak with Sadiq Khan in London, England, maybe Olivia Chow in Toronto, and other mayors across America.
Well, his characterization as an Islamo-communist, oh my God.
Well, you see, Sadiq Khan
that was said. That was the first time I heard that. I think it was from the Republican commentator on CNN when they were talking about that. Fox has one liberal on their panel, and CNN has one conservative on theirs. And that's the kind of that's the kind of comments he's coming up with. Yeah. Social Democrat is a communist. They kept saying he's a communist. And socialism is going to ruin, and that everybody's going to leave New York. But somebody, I saw a video. I don't know who created it. Went through the history of New York elections and stuff like that, and you can go back 20 years, and some commentator is saying all the money and the people are going to leave New York in droves, and that is a common thing said year after year after year after year about New York, and it never happens.
Yeah, and actually you're right, because there was a real bad mayor that everybody hated. It was the mayor before Giuliani got in, and Giuliani came along as the savior of New York. But who that prior mayor was, I don't remember. But again, nobody left New York in droves, because people stay in the city they live in, not because of the politicians, but in spite of the politicians.
Yeah, I don't know what they're afraid of. He's saying, like Mamdani's saying, okay, I'm going to get free transport, that kind of thing. We're going to hold down rents, I wish sort of freeze rents at the place they are, so they don't get. He's not telling he's going to reduce the rents. He's going to freeze them at where they are.
Yeah,
and he's trying to make the mobility of the average person easier to get in and out of town. These may be pie in the sky ideas. There might not be enough money for it, whatever. But if he's going to fail, let him fail on his own.
Yeah,
but they're not going to let him fail on his own. They're going to throw a monkey wrench anytime they can into this works. I don't think.
I'd like to know how he's going to manage to freeze rents. I don't know that, is it within the power of the New York mayor? Because I don't know enough about.
They have a lot of public housing. What you don't understand there is they have a huge amount of public housing.
I know that. Yeah.
Huge amount of public housing.
But it's only the public housing they can freeze the rents on.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
And you see,
but they have enormous amounts of them.
Yeah, but if you owned a swish uptown apartment in Manhattan, I couldn't cause you to freeze the rent.
No, can't.
Yeah, exactly.
He's talking about the stock of housing
Public
that New
housing.
York
Yeah, yeah,
owns and manages,
yeah.
and they have done that for many years. As a matter of fact, I have a friend who put her name on the list to try to get get an apartment, but there's a long waiting list. It's almost like
Yeah.
affordable housing here when you go to the Niagara
Well,
region
a
to get
friend of mine,
affordable
told
housing.
me.
There's a list.
Yeah, a friend of mine 10 years ago told me it was an 8 year wait to get on, to get public housing. Right. She got on with her life ever since. She's still waiting. Right.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've said to her recently, shouldn't be worried about it, because it's like clearly they don't have anything. They're not going to give anything to you. And at the moment, Niagara region are not building anything either. Or building very
There
little.
is a lot of
Building very,
attempts to
yeah.
build it. There's
Sorry,
initiatives to build it. Everybody recognizes the need for it. Is just to get the developers to do it, incentives towards that.
so sorry.
But
As
in New
soon as
York, they have a large stock of housing units in which the city controls.
Yeah,
And
sorry. As
they
soon
took
as I
over
said
these
that,
in years past to make sure that that housing prices didn't explode,
sorry.
and
As soon as I said
because
that,
they know they needed a certain amount of people to be able to find places to live.
sorry. As soon as I said that, Dave, I realized I'd made a mistake. I meant that they were not really exactly. They are building new housing, but not exactly droves of it. Not enough to
Well,
build.
yeah, as we found out, they have houses they can't sell because they're overpriced houses, and yet we still have the same need for people to find homes, and
Yeah,
we find that people of one tier of income moving down to and buying houses that normally would be bought by the income tier below them, because
yeah,
the houses they normally would have gone into are unaffordable. So we have that push from the top down, uh, pushing more and more people into vulnerable situations. But to get back to New York, and that it's they have, like I say, a
we're
stock of
actually a long
housing.
way. We're a long way from Gaza, right?
Yeah, that's true too. That popped into my head almost the same time as you said it. It was, but the problem here is the extreme power of the Israeli lobby in the United States. Now it's becoming exposed. Like I said, it's been people have trying to point this out for decades, and the lobby has been able to hold it down. All the news agencies and all that would dare not speak of it, or speak of it very, very lightly. Like in 2016, they had an APAC convention. Every candidate swore fealty to that agency. Hillary Clinton was there, Trump was there, the other candidates were there. The only one that didn't go was a Jewish candidate now named Bernie Sanders. He avoided APAC. He did not want the association with APAC,
Yep.
and but everybody else wanted it. But APAC does not show its face since then. And they did not show their face in 2020 election. It did not show their face in the 2024 election because they know there's this rising awareness of the power they have in U.S. politics.
Yeah.
And this is a tough place for the U.S. politicians, because they certainly don't want to be the first ones to say anything about it, because they will generate the wrath of AIPAC. And but Trump asking for clemency of Netanyahu and his crimes. Remember, Netanyahu has been up in front of the court many, many times, and his family has too. It seems to me. I know this is not the first time; it's been a few times, and it's corruption and other things that are there. I don't know why Trump wants to interfere with Netanyahu right now, but and get him a pardon. But I think on one level, he wants to get he wants to get Netanyahu owing him. I don't think he trusts him, but if he gets this pardon for Netanyahu, Netanyahu owes him. Right now, Netanyahu just does what he wants to do. He doesn't listen to Trump one bit, and that might be part of it. The other part of it, it might be just the fact that Netanyahu is a far right politician, and Trump is making alliances with other far right politicians like himself, like what's the guy's name in Hungary? Not Orban.
I know the guy you mean. Yeah, I don't remember his name. Yeah.
Orban,
yes. Yeah.
Orban. He used to like Erdogan in Turkey. He still might be there. Milei in Argentina is far right too, and he was buddies with Bolsonaro, far right guy in Brazil.
And then, of course, you've got Modi in India.
Yeah, he's got a love-hate relationship going there. Modi is a hard right guy, but India is a different situation. He tried to muscle India, and India didn't go for it. So he's got to play his cards different. It seems to be that Trump, every time he tries to muscle somebody and it doesn't work, if he muscles you, if he puts demands on him, you meet those demands, then he asks for more and more and more. But when he finally hits resistance, like he did with Modi, he can yell and scream and hit his chest and throw tariffs at him all day long. But sooner or later, he pulls the pay. He takes the pressure off, and he tries to find a different way. Usually by complimenting the leader. He's a great friend of mine. He's a wonderful man. Blah blah blah. So we'll see about
that. Here's another one that's interesting. Is red dress press, right? They all know Epstein. I didn't say that. Don't know that. Don't understand. Don't even know what that comment means. Passing it on.
Well, the rumor is that the Israel that Epstein, at least in some part, played a part with Mossad.
Yeah.
And because Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was a Mossad asset, so they feel that Israel and Netanyahu and Putin have a lot of dirt on Trump. So that's the rumor. I don't know how much that could be true. It's a possibility, of course, but I don't know about that. But in any case, I don't really think there's personally, I don't think there's a whole lot of stuff in the files that would damage Trump too much any further, at least. So I don't know why Trump doesn't lift the pin on it. I think Trump is more worried about the powerful people he does not want exposed that might have been supporting him in his campaign somewhere along the line. It's really a mystery to me why they demanded the files be wide open, and suddenly when they get into power, they've changed their mind. So I think pretty much Biden didn't open up the files because he knew there was lots of embarrassing things for his supporters in there. Now the Republicans get in gleefully looking for all those Democrats and find equal amount of Republicans. They say, "Oh, wait a minute! I don't want to look at."
Somebody asked me the other day, "Will we ever see the Epstein files released?" And my answer was no. Have we ever seen, for example, the JFK killing, the real story of the JFK killings released? No. We will never see either of those released because it is not in the interest of certain people to have those released.
I don't know what's with the files. Of course, they say, we released 97% of them. The only thing they've released was the stuff that was already in the public realm, and they re-released it.
Yeah.
So all of there's other vast amounts of information. I think it's just going to be damaging to powerful people in the United States, and that's the real reason why Trump and Biden before him was not too interested in opening those files. Trump, of course, he's in files all over the place, but there's nothing much damaging so far in those files about him.
Yeah. All right. I think it's time to be saying goodbye to everybody anyway. Have a great weekend, everybody. And Dave?
Yes, have a great weekend. I'll just mention Gaza again, that always keep in mind Gaza, because I think Netanyahu was extremely duplicitous, still keep killing people. And every time they don't get what they want, like a dead body, they withhold water, food, and medicine to the whole population. So they demand the remains of an Israeli soldier, and they can't get it fast enough to them, maybe. So guess what they're going to do? They're going to punish all of the Palestinians, the men, women, and children. They've already killed 20,000 kids. They're going to kill, and guess what? We're going to kill more by starvation. You're not going to get water. You're not getting any food. We want the remains of that soldier. A dead soldier, a dead person. I mean, life is over for them. The injustice of that is very clear, but you do not make a whole population suffer for Hamas and not doing what it's supposed to do by turning over a dead body.
Yeah. All right.
Cruel. Well, unusually cruel.
And we'll see you, everybody. And
yes, without further ado, I bid you do have a good weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Santa Claus parade tomorrow, is it?
It is later on in the afternoon. Okay.
Okay, good show.